If you make or sell jewelry and you spend most of your time selling your jewelry at art shows, in-person events, or even outside of your studio, I've got something for you today, because I know that many of you who are selling at in-person shows oftentimes have seasonal businesses. And the frustrating part about that is that half the year you're making money, and then the other half the year you're kind of in this feast or famine mode. Well, if that sounds like you, and even if it doesn't, you're gonna love this interview today. I'm interviewing Erin Hayden Reich of Bettina Rosa Jewelry. Erin is a jewelry designer, a maker, an artist, and a complete creator. She is based outside of Washington in San Juan Island, where she spends half the year. She spends the other half of the year in Mexico. And she joined us a while back for our Momentum program. She's actually graduated from the program now, to kind of solve the problem of having this seasonal business that wasn't making money year round. And she's going to share her journey today on how she transitioned that seasonal business into daily online sales with her business while leveraging those in-person events to grow her audience. Hey there, I'm Tracy Matthews. I'm the Chief Visionary Officer over at Flourish and Thrive Academy. I am also the host of the Thrive by Design podcast. Welcome to the show today. And I'm super excited to have this interview especially for all you who are selling in person. If you haven't heard of me before, I help jewelry designers and makers sell more of their products using something I call the Desire Brand Effect. And our specialty is to help you really scale your business to multiple six figures or even beyond that. So let's dive into this episode with Erin. And before I do, if you haven't yet, make sure that you subscribe to our channel, that you like this video, and if you enjoy the video, share it with your friends. All right, let's dive in. I'm so excited to be here with Erin Hayden Reich. Erin, welcome.
Thank you. So good to be here.
Erin, I wanted to chat with you a little bit about your business. You joined our Momentum program, and you were in the program about 2 years. You actually joined it when it was called SOS. So I just really wanted to talk to you a little bit more about your story and kind of hear what's happened over the time that you've been in the program and to hear how your business has grown. So it's awesome to chat. My first question for you, just so that you can share this with your readers, is I'd love to know your name and your business, and then also just a little bit about your jewelry business journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Erin, and my business is Bettina Rosa, and most of my jewelry life has been in-person sales and markets, kind of how most people get started. I had just barely started my own website before I found SOS, and I know it's now called Momentum, but SOS did appeal to me at the time because I was really felt like I was drowning and needed help. And I've done lots of Flourish and Thrive things over the years, but I was feeling the same sort of overwhelm and exhaustion that most people feel when they're doing mostly in-person sales and events. And so I was looking to move part of my business online. Like the goal was to do half of my sales online and the other half in person, because I still love in-person stuff, but it's just not sustainable for the rest of my life. To be popping up tables and tents and things like that.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about what your business was like before you joined the Momentum program.
So my business before I joined the program was, and still is in many ways, I have a seasonal pop-up shop, I call it. It's on San Juan Island in a resort marina called Roche Harbor. And they have a little village where all the local artists set up. They have a little booth. It's like a little cabin. And I've had that for, I think, 6 years now. And so that's been my main place for selling jewelry, is to tourists. And I do a good business there, but it's a very intense, it's like 10 weeks of really intense sales. And then I would kind of just drop off the face of the planet for the rest of the year. And then, do it all over again. So it was really quite exhausting. I was doing Christmas shows and all the big, applying to all the shows and trying to max out as many live events as possible, farmers market. Like I would sign up for anything. I was just like trying to do it all. And yeah, I just kind of hit a wall with how much I could physically do in a year after a 10-week intense summer, and then having a few weeks to rest, and then having to go into the holidays again. It was a lot. Yeah. So I was really looking for some help on how to transition to online, to a more sustainable something that could be done, because I live part-time in Mexico. So having an online business makes so much sense for me. And it was something that I just couldn't quite wrap my brain around how to get started with it. I had a website, but it had hardly any sales.
So how much were you doing percentage wise of your business in website sales when you started Momentum?
So I started in 2019. I started Momentum in 2019. And in 2018, my website sales represented 5% of my business. And this last year in 2020, they represented 20% of my business. And so it's a huge jump. My numbers wise, in the first year of Momentum, my website sales were up 160%. And then this last year, 2020, they were up 127, 130% from the previous year. So I now can consider my website part of my business. Whereas when I first started, it was just like this thing that was happening on the side that just didn't really do anything, didn't get any attention. Yeah.
So how have you used your in-person shows to leverage website sales?
Well, that was something that I was honestly really terrible about before I started this program. I know I had an email list, but it was like my friends and family were on it, and I probably sent an email out maybe twice a year. So I've learned a lot about getting people on my list, especially since I have this kind of captive audience all summer. So now I'm collecting emails every chance I can get. I've doubled or tripled my email list, I think, since I started. So, at my booth, I have ways of collecting emails. I'm trying to collect emails from people at the point of sale, and I have multiple ways. And before I wasn't doing that at all. I would have been terrified to ask somebody for their email before I started this. So that's been a big growth point for me, is just even being able to ask for that.
That's amazing. So I'm sure that contributed to the growth of the online sales as well.
Yes, definitely. Yes, because I had all these regular customers, from the summers. Like the same people are coming to visit me every summer, but I wasn't capturing them. I was like, what do they say? I was leaving all the money on the table because, they would probably be buying from me other times of year. And I wasn't communicating with them at all. So now I have these year round, the same people are buying from me online that are buying from me in person. And it seems like a no-brainer, but it was just like a personal hurdle that I couldn't really get over. It felt weird for me to ask that. So yes, that's been a huge difference for me.
That's amazing. I love that so much. So I'm curious to know, what was it specifically about Momentum that kind of helped you grow your business and your online sales? Because I know that you were talking a little bit before about how your overall sales or your online sales are now 20% of your total business. They more than quadrupled over the 2 years that you were in the program. You have an email list now. Your overall sales more than doubled, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to know, what did you do to kind of increase your sales in that way?
I feel like I've done so much. I actually made a list of
Great.
many of the things that I did while in Momentum. I mean, I'll say the one thing was I really felt like a deer in the headlights. I knew somewhat what I needed to do. I knew I needed to get attention on my website and pay attention personally to my website to get it to grow. But I just really didn't know at all how to begin that. And I didn't even have, when I started Momentum, I didn't have anything. I mean, I had a website, but I didn't have a brand. I didn't have any brand colors. I didn't have a dream client. I didn't have a brand story. There was no shape to my business. It was just me making jewelry and selling it. And then that's it. I didn't have any of the other things. So I think I started Momentum a little bit behind where a lot of people started, but having somebody just guide me, was really like one of the most amazing things, because as you know, when you're a solopreneur, you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do next. There's nobody to confer with. So just having the one-on-one coaching and, the 90-day planning calls was so helpful for me, just to focus in on what to do next, because I knew there was all this stuff for me to do, but I had no idea where to start. So yeah, do you want to hear my list of some of the things, my big accomplishments?
I would love to hear your list. Let's do it.
I started a new website. I moved from Wix to Shopify, which was a huge thing for me because I used Wix in my previous job, and had built several websites on Wix, and I felt really comfortable with it. But Shopify is just treating me so much better. So that was a huge move to move over. I also, I've rebranded my whole brand. I got a new logo, new colors, new fonts, new everything. I have like the complete brand package now. So that's a big deal. I'm now sending consistent emails twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, consistent blogs 2 times a month, at least 1 or 2. I hired an accountant, which was huge. I started getting some of my parts made and cast for me, which was another big deal, because one of my other mental hurdles coming into Momentum was like, how do you even get people to help you make jewelry? Like, I couldn't even imagine how that worked. So that was a big step. I also hired some part-time production help. I now have an email welcome sequence. I have a post-purchase sequence that's, all fancy and divided depending on how many times people have purchased. I have all custom packaging. I didn't have that before. I was just like scrapping it together. So I have some beautiful branded custom packaging, and I have like 5 or 6 live Facebook sales under my belt now, which now they seem super easy. I launched my first real collection, which I had not done before. That was this last year. I now have a content plan, which was also something I didn't even know existed before. And let's see. And yes, I'm getting consistent sales on my website, consistent sales every month, which is something I never had before I started.
That is so exciting. And how has that really complemented your in-person business? Because I know that you mentioned that you still enjoy the in-person sales. So that's like a huge part of your business, and you just wanted to have the online to help add to what you're doing.
Yeah, I didn't want to, the way it complements my in-person business is I didn't want to feel like all my eggs were in one basket. And this last year was the perfect, like, real life example of that. I had no idea if I'd be able to open my booth last summer, and I didn't actually know that I would be able to open it till the last minute. So I felt like having put all this work into my online sales in 2019 really helped me to recover some of the income I might have lost. I mean, it turns out that I was able to open, but that's the thing, is you just never know. And I'm in a marina, I'm renting a spot. I don't have any control over what they decide. They could decide to close the little artist village and I would be without a spot. So just for like business sustainability, it just makes so much more sense and makes me feel like so much better. And it doesn't put so much pressure on me to squeeze every last drop out of those 10 weeks of summer. I can relax. I can actually enjoy my summer. And in fact, this last summer, I was able to take a week off in August, which I've never been able to do before. And so that was amazing.
That's huge, actually. I feel like being able to step away from your business during the busy season is huge. I remember one time, just by setting my business up the right way, I left in December, which is unheard of in that time, because December was the month that we were preparing for all the big trade shows in January. And even though, because I had a wholesale business, even though most of my sales shipped in November, like the December was hectic because you're doing all your trunk shows and everything, the in-person stuff, but then also preparing for this big trade show that's literally like the week after the new year. And I remember I was able to do that once, and it was like the most amazing feeling. Now I can do it whenever, but it was the most amazing feeling to leave for the entire month of November and be able to get stuff done. So I feel you there. And I totally know that feeling of being able to take a week off during the busy season, which is so cool.
It was amazing. It was amazing. I felt like such a boss, just leaving my person that I've hired to help me with my booth and just being like, you got this, I got this, we got this, sales are up. I'll see you in a week. It was fantastic. I've never been able to do that.
Okay. So what were your favorite parts about the Momentum program?
My favorite parts, for one, the retreats, the twice a year retreats. I love those. I love spending 2 days just super hyper focused on business stuff. I go back to my notes from the retreats all the time. I'm constantly pulling ideas from, I love all of the super shares that people do for the retreats. And, now you're doing them all the time, which is great. Just getting ideas from other people is so helpful. And the camaraderie, and I don't know, it's just that bubbly, energy of everybody getting together and kind of talking about the same things. I love that. And then the one-on-one coaching has been really amazing for me. I had never done any coaching before at all. So that kind of focused attention and just being able to talk to somebody who totally knew what I was talking about. They knew exactly the problems. I've maybe had some conversations with other business owners over the years, and having people that are specifically knowledgeable about jewelry it made a lot of difference for me, because for one, it gave me the direction that I didn't have. And two, it made me feel less alone in my business. Here are these other people, they've gone through what I've gone through. There's all the other people in the program that are going through the same thing. So that sense of knowledge and then the camaraderie that went with it, I would say.
So what were some of the specific results that you got as a result of joining Momentum?
Some of the specific results I've gotten, so my overall sales have almost doubled, not quite, but they're almost double what they were when I started the program. They're almost double. I mean, which is amazing to me, because I haven't made more jewelry. The amount of jewelry that I have is the same, but I'm doing all these different things, selling more, selling smarter. So I don't feel like I'm working double, if that makes sense, but I'm making double. So that's amazing. To me, that's huge. And then in addition to that, my website sales have gone up 400% since I started. They were a very small part of my business when I first started, and now they represent an actual, my website sales in 2020 represented 20% of my business. And that was with a brand new website. That was in a pandemic. I was still figuring out Shopify. I'm still working on all the things I can do there. So I easily feel like I could double that again in this next year. And I didn't look at my numbers specifically for 2021 yet, but I'm already well on my way to doubling those numbers again. So those, just numbers wise, those are huge. The other thing is, I wanted to say, when I started Momentum, I told Natasha when I first talked to her that what was important to me, obviously the numbers are important to me, but what was really important to me is how I feel. How I feel in my business. And I felt when I started that I was running behind it, trying to catch up. It was this wild thing just going in its own direction. And I was running to catch up with it all the time. And how I wanted to feel was the reverse of that. I wanted to feel like I was in the driver's seat, that I was actually thinking about where I wanted to go and making decisions about what I wanted to do, and that I was in control. And I can say with 100% certainty that I feel that way now. So for me, that was the biggest thing that I wanted out of the program, was to feel differently in my business, to feel like I was the boss and not this thing just has control of my life. So the numbers are great, but that's the part I'm most happy about, is how I feel now as a business owner. I feel like I got it together. I know what I'm doing. So that's amazing for me.
That's awesome. So would you recommend Momentum for someone else in the jewelry industry or who's selling a creative product? And if so, why?
I would 100% recommend Momentum. I don't think there's anything else out there like it. I can't imagine anything that's as comprehensive. And I think, like I said, the biggest part, most jewelry businesses are one person businesses, and you just can't do it all on your own. And it's, for me, I wasn't making a lot of money when I started this program. And so it felt like an investment for me, but it's been more than worth it. I would never have accomplished all of the things that I have done in the past 2 years without it. And I feel like I have years worth of information to keep me going further. Plus I have, I feel like I have this community that I can always fall back on when I need help, which just for the fact of being, a solopreneur, that's worth everything. Yeah, I don't know where else you can get that. So yes, I highly recommend it for anybody selling products. I can imagine that this program would be perfect.
That was so awesome. Thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for listening to this interview today. Wasn't it amazing? I just love hearing stories from our students. Erin, as I mentioned, is a graduate of our Momentum program. It's a program that is designed around helping jewelry designers, makers, and other product businesses scale their sales online and reach more of their customers directly to create an anti-fragile business that makes money all year round. And it's designed to help you leverage those other channels that you're selling on to make more sales in general by selling through your branded website. The program is structured around individualized coaching, strategic planning, and a lot of individualized support. So if you're someone who feels a little bit stuck or your growth is plateaued, we'd love to help you kind of get unstuck and grow your business and get to that place where you're building a brand that is, reaching all the goals that you have. So if you're interested in learning more, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/momentum, and you can read a little bit more about the program and get your application in today if that sounds interesting to you. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching today. Ciao, ciao.